Ghana is a top destination in Africa and one of the most visited countries for Nigerians. Here are a few things I wish I knew before my 2024 journey to the Ghanaian capital. Watch this video to the end to avoid being extorted by corrupt officials. As a Nigerian visiting Ghana or any West African country for that matter, for the first time, you would need ideally an international passport or your ECOWAS passport. Two very different things but quite similar. ECOWAS passports for Nigerians are blue and the international passports are green. You also need a yellow fever card to visit most countries. That should be all. But obviously, this is West Africa. People travel with just ID cards, so going with your NIN as a Nigerian should suffice. There are daily flights between Lagos and Accra and Abuja and Accra, multiple flights from different airlines. Although they might be a bit expensive, but they are the fastest and most convenient way to travel between both countries. But more people travel by road between Nigeria and Ghana. On your journey to Ghana, ensure you go with only things that are allowed in the country. You don't go with anything potentially dangerous or illegal. Ghana was the first country I went to in 2018, and since then I have knowingly and unknowingly visited the country at least half a dozen times, possibly more. And this journey was the first journey that I did not use the Nigerian bus company or fly. I went from Togo to Ghana, and it goes without saying that the corruption at the Aflao border is incredible. Nigeria does not have a monopoly on corruption. Oh my god, these Ghanaians are extremely corrupt. It's a racket at the border and everyone is in on it. Everybody knows the prices that they charge. They have different prices. If you have a new passport, if it's your first time at that border, everybody knows the prices, and the way they demand for it, they're not even scared whether you're holding a secret camera or whatever, because you know that nothing is gonna happen. You do not necessarily have a choice, and you can watch videos from big YouTubers like Wodimaya dealing with corruption at this border. It is an unfortunate situation, and I would advise anybody that wants to go to Ghana to go directly with a Nigerian bus company or fly if you can afford it. After an unfortunate experience crossing the border from Lome to Ghana, I thought my expensive and unpalatable ordeal had come to an end, but little did I know that the people at the other side of the border were gonna find a way to frustrate me even more. There are lots of bus companies on the Ghanaian side of the border, and I decided to use the one I know, STC. It's like the biggest, I believe, or is that VIP? I went to the STC park, I paid, and I was there for my bus to fill up. Next thing, they were like, I need to pay for my luggage. Guys, I was holding a very small luggage, like the hand luggage size for planes, because I knew that I was traveling to multiple countries and I needed to stay limber and I needed, to move easily. And they insisted I pay 10 cedis, and I was like, no, it wasn't necessarily about the money, but it was about the ethics. It made no sense. I understand paying for luggage in Nigeria, but there's a certain type of luggage where you don't pay for. It's something that I can literally put on my lap. So when you are traveling within Ghana, they will try to get you to pay for luggage, no matter how small it is. If you are enjoying this video, which I'm sure that you are, please subscribe to this channel and like the video. Thank you. As mentioned earlier, my first visit to Ghana was in 2018, and that was the first time I ever left my country. I remember being a very young man, my first time away from home for that long, and Ghana seemed so expensive to me. I came back home and I was telling everybody like, yo, Ghana is so expensive, like I can't believe how do people survive. Like I believe it was around 4 cedis or 4 cedis 50 to $1 then. I might be wrong. Ghanaians in the comment section, please feel free to correct me. So it was about $1 to 4 cedis, and when I went recently, it was almost 16 cedis the day I was changing money to travel back. And I was like, well, I know the feeling. I'm Nigerian and our currency has also taken a considerable devaluation, but if you are traveling to Ghana and you have a bit of money, I believe you can get value for the money you are going with. Things on the streets were considerably cheaper, but in the big hotels and in the service industry, a lot of those places charge in dollars, which I feel like is insane. But going back to Ghana this year was simultaneously cheaper and more expensive, if that makes sense. Next up, if you are going as a tourist, then you need to understand that certain places, lots of places actually have different prices for locals and internationals. It might come as a surprise to you because it came as a surprise to me. This was my first time in Ghana since I believe the COVID year, and I learned that there's a different price for locals and internationals. I initially thought I was being extorted, but then I did some research and I found out that places like Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Pavilion have different prices for locals and internationals. This is something that is prevalent in a lot of tourism dependent countries in East and Southern Africa. When you go there are different prices for locals and internationals. Not necessarily saying this is a bad or good thing, but just keep in mind that you might be required to pay more than is listed, and in some cases they're just trying to swindle you, so do your research before you go anywhere. Next up, we are going to talk about payments in Ghana. If you've ever been to Ghana, you know that mobile money is king, and Ghana is not necessarily an exception. Countries like Nigeria are the exception, because across Africa I've realized that mobile money really controls and makes those countries run. So if you're going to be in Ghana for a while, endeavor to get the SIM, register it properly, and sign up for mobile money, because you're going to be needing it a lot. As popular as mobile money is, you still need to walk around with cash. Yes, I know it sounds like I'm going against what I just said seconds ago, but you still need cash. And if you are going as a foreigner, rather than going with Naira or other African currencies, change your money to USD before you leave your country, and try to get big denominations. Don't go with $10, $20, go with like 50s and 100s. So when you change money, you can get the best rates possible. For some reason, mobile money has failed to succeed in Nigeria, but I guess it's for the best, because I don't want to trust anything with my money. If you're still here, I would like to implore you to consider subscribing and liking this video. It really helps us. Something I noticed in Ghana, and not just Ghana, but almost every African country I've been to this year, was that there is a general sense of unhappiness and hopelessness among young people. I have seen it in Nigeria, I saw it in Ghana, I saw it in Benin Republic, I saw it in Kenya. I have seen it in a lot of countries, and that feeling is very hard to miss, especially as a young person. It's just a sense of hopelessness and you don't really see a way out. Jackpot is also a thing in Ghana, and they actually use that term that's been popularized out there, and every Ghanaian person, especially young people that I know, is ready to leave the country, and that's for those that haven't left already. It's an unfortunate reality across many countries on the continent. And another unfortunate development between my first and most recent visits to Ghana is they now take light. I stayed in somewhere around Adenta, and they actually took light a couple times, so you might want to plan that into your schedule. But if you're staying in like a high-end hotel and all, you might not need to worry about that. But their power issues are not as bad as a certain African giant. One thing I always tell people is, no matter how much money you have, when you get to Ghana, the prices will always shock you. The first time I went, it shocked me, and admittedly each time I go it shocks me a little bit less because I now understand. But when you go out there, the prices just be like, wow, they'll literally eat you like you just got hit in the face with a brick. It will definitely take some getting used to. But one advice I always advise people is, do not run out of money, physically or digitally. If you run out of cash, ensure that you have money somewhere to back up, and if you run out of money, you are in for a very difficult time, especially if you know nobody there. And I always tell my friends that when you are going to Ghana, there are lots of free activities to enjoy while you are there, so you can mix those free activities with paid activities to improve your overall experience. I have a $10 challenge video where I give you tips on activities you can do in Accra over a day or two for $10 total. If you value the work we do here on this channel and you like to support, you can become a channel member or gift super thanks from as little as $1. Thank you if you can. Next up, if you are going to Accra, especially during peak periods like 30 December and public holidays, I would like to implore you to plan traffic into your itinerary. You will cry in traffic and you end up spending hours. I felt like I spent 20% or 25% of my time in Accra in traffic, especially if you are traveling on certain days at certain times. There's a lot to do in Ghana, but the last thing you want is to spend all your time in traffic. And while you are around, there's a bit of pickpocketing and stuff like that, so always be at alert and keep an eye on your surroundings. I strongly believe that if you go to Ghana for the first time and you fail to visit Cape Coast to learn more about slavery's awful part, then your trip has been a waste. Make time, put it in your budget to go down to Cape Coast, a day trip, go in the morning and come back later in the day to learn more about slavery. Ghana is 100% worth visiting. It remains one of my favorite countries in Africa. If you have specific questions before your trip to Ghana, please feel free to ask without giving away too much personal details. I'll chime in, and any other person that has been through your situation section will also chime in. As always, when going to a new country, it's important to respect your hosts and be gracious. Until the next video, your friend from the Ukodo YouTube channel wishes you love, peace, and prosperity.